How many people have seen Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere?
Thank you. That's a good
All right.
Thank you.
Coming up now, this really, I call this the anti-biopic. It's not always what you expect, but it certainly is extraordinary. So let me introduce to you our panel for Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere. First up, he has worked in this business a long time and has a lot of credits. Please welcome Eric Robinson. Hi there. Grab a mic. And she equally has done so much in so many aspects, such an interesting career. Another producer on the film, Ellen Goldsmith-Vein, right here. Hi, Ellen. And writer, director, and producer. You've seen so many of his movies. This is Scott Cooper.
Thank you for sticking around. I hope somebody wins the raffle.
That's right. Those 4 days in Maui.
Sorry. I'd like to win that raffle.
Congratulations on this movie and getting it made, because Bruce Springsteen has turned down any effort to do a motion picture about his life. And this, like I just said, is sort of the anti-biopic. It's about a specific time in his life. Scott, can you set up the fact that we're going to show a little clip from this, but set up the fact of why you were interested in making this movie?
Well, my first film, Crazy Heart, was a music film, and I really loved experience. Thank you.
Winner of 2 Academy Awards.
Thank you. And Nebraska is one of my favorite albums. Kind of came to me at the right time in my life, kind of a disaffected teenager who wasn't quite sure of his place in the world. It was my introduction to Bruce Springsteen. So when Eric and Ellen approached me about this particular time in Bruce's life, which I was well aware of, this very specific and intimate, quite painful chapter in his life, I thought, wow, that's a movie a lot of people are going to want to see. But, as it turns out, it's the story that was incredibly personal for me. Fathers and sons, right? I think so many people are touched by mental illness, which the film touches on a little bit. And to see Bruce Springsteen, one of the biggest stars in the world, suffer the way he did and get through it, I thought it would give people a lot of hope. Yeah. And on top of that, you always try to find out, when you're making a film, find out about something about yourself. And I was able to do that. It was a very difficult film to make on a number of personal levels, but I'm so happy that Bruce agreed to let the 3 of us make it. And Bruce has now seen the movie 13 times.
He can't get enough of it.
No, I'm going to see him next week. He might watch it again.
That's a real compliment to you guys as filmmakers, because when you have not only a living subject, but somebody who was on the set every day watching it unfold, so happy with the story you told.
Yeah, what a real gift to have Bruce be with all of us throughout the process, only because you can read only so much, you can watch so many videos, but to understand someone's psychological state of mind, like Bruce's in this very, very fragile time in his life, you really have to go to the source. And he was completely unadulterated and gave me access to literally every part of his life. And he said to me the story means as much to him as anything. So I'm just thankful that Eric and Ellen thought of me to write and direct this.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that and how it came about as well. But first, we're going to take a look at this. So check out Jeremy Allen White in an incredible performance as Bruce Springsteen in this clip from Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere.
It's a process. I think we're getting a lot of what we're after. Maybe not everything, but a lot.
I know, John. I know we got good stuff, right? But it's these songs, Nebraska, Mansion, what they're doing with Atlantic City, it's not working, right? And these songs, they matter to me.
Okay, hear me out. Just hear me out. Let's put that tape aside for now. Okay, we revisit it. It ain't going anywhere, neither are we. We've got an incredible take on Cover Me, which thankfully we didn't give to Donna Summer. We have Glory Days, I'm Going Down, and a knockout, I'm on Fire. And don't forget, we've got Born in the USA.
Oh, by the way, both Jeremys really wish they could be here today. They're just finishing another movie, but they wanted me to pass on.
Jeremy Strong is literally flying on a plane from Vancouver now. They're doing the new Aaron Sorkin follow-up.
Playing Mark Zuckerberg.
And wow, playing Mark Zuckerberg. Okay. Well, it's the Aaron Sorkin follow-up to the Social Network. So it's quite exciting, but that's not what we're talking about.
He just wanted to say,
I love
sorry
that.
he couldn't be here.
I love that. I was going to mention Jeremy Strong is so good here as John Landau, his manager. Yep. Really good, you know.
He's exceptional, and quite honestly, people who have been in orbit of John Landau's for as long as they have said to me, Scott, you have no idea how close Jeremy Strong got to being the actual John Landau. I said, oh, I know, because I saw his process.
Oh my God! One of the greatest scenes in any movie this year is John Landau telling the Columbia Records executive, "Okay, we've got this album. Bruce isn't going to do any publicity. You can't use his picture on the cover. The cover is going to be black and white. It's all of this stuff that is a nightmare.
No press, no tour,
no press,
no single,
no
doing nothing.
No single even out of the album. And okay, I love that guy's reaction. Okay."
In this office, in my office, we believe in Bruce Springsteen.
Right, which is very important. So you guys obviously believed in Bruce Springsteen too, because you guys got a hold of this project.
I believe in Scott Cooper.
Okay, so how did it come about? Because famously, he has turned down every attempt to do something like this.
He has. So this was definitely, from the very beginning, seemed like a Sisyphean task. But we originally heard Warren Zanes, the author of the book, on a podcast interview, thought it sounded really great. We read the book immediately. As Scott said, it's a very intimate, vulnerable, raw, emotional story. It's a story about a man that you think we all know who has a nervous breakdown at the end of the story, basically. And so, but within the book, it's a very cinematic telling of it. It's the Flannery O'Connor stories. It's Badlands, it's Night of the Hunter, it's Taxi Driver. It's all of these amazing cinematic visual elements that Bruce was drawing inspiration from to create Nebraska at the same time that he was exercising the demons of his trauma, generational trauma with his father. So all of which are themes that Scott has touched on in all of his movies: Male Friendship and Hostiles, Out of the Furnace, Crazy Heart. So even the trauma that Christian Bale's character has in Pale Blue Eye. So when we were thinking about who could write and direct this film, Scott was literally the only person we thought of, who could really capture this character, this person at this kind of pivotal moment in his both professional and personal life.
But Ellen, did you know that Scott was such a devotee of Bruce Springsteen when you approached him?
I mean, we felt like it was sort of divine in a lot of ways because we had the good fortune of just bumping into Scott. We had often referred to him as the white whale because we would send things and he would pass on them, and we would send things and he would pass on them. And then we, in his incredibly discerning taste, but when Eric originally read the book and gave it to me, I thought, God, this just feels so much like Scott. We had just met him finally in person at an event, and then I managed somehow to get his email address and reached out to him and said, Eric and I planned this because we had ourselves so like the idea of not having Scott, it became like our last meal. If we don't get Scott Cooper, and Yeah, and we reached out to him and said, "Are you a fan of Bruce Springsteen, specifically the album Nebraska?" And within 2 minutes, he wrote back and said, I think something like, "Who isn't?"
Yeah, he said, I consider Nebraska to be one of the finest albums of the last 50 years.
Not only
Scott.
was he a fan of Bruce Springsteen, he was a fan of this album, which I think is the key thing.
But
because you really knew your stuff.
Yeah, and I have to say, because you know, the experience of making this film was, you know, I've been at this now for 33 years. It really has, it's the pinnacle of you know, producerial, you know, the dream. And Scott had originally been given this album Nebraska by his father. You know, we were prepping the film in New Jersey, and sadly, Scott's father passed away the day before we started shooting, so it even had a more powerful meaning to us, because it was such an important thing for him and the connection that he had with his dad.
And I know your original question was, how did we get Bruce, and why did we think Bruce would respond to this? And I think that if you look, and people have come to him with the idea of doing, you know, the big cradle to present day stories. This was always intended to be and planned to be the anti-rock biopic, the anti-Bohemian Rhapsody, if you will, the zeroing in and focusing upon the creation of this seminal album at this moment in his life. To us, we hadn't seen that done before. And it really allowed Scott, as a writer and filmmaker, to create this portrait of the artist as a human being. And what has been so incredible to see is the audience's reaction to this movie. And people are going back and seeing the film 3-4 times and taking family members with them. We've gotten people reaching out to us saying that seeing this movie made them go and reconnect with their estranged father after 4 years. So it's been having this incredible impact on people. And I think Bruce, when he met with Scott for the first time, and Scott pitched him the idea of what that was, he was like, "This is the only movie that will ever be made of my story."
And he's there on the set. It's more than just giving you permission. He was very much involved every day.
Yeah, anytime that I would have a question, generally about his psychological state, he would just readily answer. It was remarkable. Now, there were a couple of times scenes that we would shoot that I think were probably a little painful for Bruce, and he would say, "You know, I think I'm going to go home," or "I don't think I'm going to come tomorrow." Scenes with young Bruce and his father, played by Stephen Graham. Some of those were quite painful, but it's such a gift to have Bruce there and John Landau. Anytime I would have a question, that they would be able to give me exactly what happened. If you want to know exactly where Bruce Springsteen was standing when, for the very first time, he electrified Born in the USA in the very place that it took place, I just asked Bruce, where was Max Weinberg? Where was Clarence Clemens? What did the room look like? Or, Bruce, what was going through your mind when you're racing down a country road at 94 miles an hour and staring into the abyss and feeling like I can't take anymore? What does it feel like when you first get to Los Angeles and you were completely overcome and it's probably the lowest moment of your life? What motivated you to call John Landau? What was that conversation like? What was it like the first time you sat in therapy? Scott, I walked in, I didn't even say anything, I sat down, and I just started crying. And that's what's in the movie. And you can only get that by going to the source.
And one of the hardest things to get on film, I've seen it done a few times, but like Amadeus and different things, is to get the feeling of creativity.
It's hard.
It's really hard, isn't it? But this one gets it because you're so focused on authenticity, as you've just described, that you were able to get this, and that's part of what this movie's about.
It is. The movie, I hope, for people, operates on a number of levels. The art of creativity, how Bruce was able to really face himself, have the courage to write about this painful chapter in his life. A love story with John Landau, his manager for 50 years. A man who has an inability to form a lasting relationship with a woman, with a partner. but also a man who's trying to connect with his father and the inheritance of mental illness. All of that is hovering around the making of Nebraska. And it's the feel-good movie of the year.
Well, it has a happy...
It does. It's hopeful.
We know that his life went on and more
He's
creativity.
Bruce Springsteen, yeah.
He's Bruce Springsteen. So this gives us an insight. And I just want to point out, too, the sequences you mentioned with Stephen Graham and the young actor that plays the young Bruce are shot in black and white, which I thought was a great decision.
Well, because Bruce said to me, he said, Scott, when I remember this time in my life when I'm 7 and 8 years old, it's only through black and white photography. That's how I remembered my father at that age. And that's why the Nebraska album cover is in black and white, all the liner note photography is in black and white. And it felt only fitting to remember this in black and white, much like the movie his father took him to, Night of the Hunter, which is, as we know, quite a terrifying film to take an 8-year-old to.
Well, he had a lot of inspirations, one of them being Terry Malick's Badlands. And before we go, I just want to mention that tonight you're doing a screening, and the star of Badlands, as it turns out, Martin Sheen, is going to do the Q&A.
Yeah, so I get this message from Emilio Estevez. I don't know how he got my number, his son, and he says, hey, Scott, we've just seen your movie, we love it, and somebody wants to say hello, and it's Martin Sheen. And he leaves me this long, beautiful message, which I'll save forever, and he said, I'm finally in a Scott Cooper movie, because he's playing a character from Badlands in our movie.
Because you got a clip from Terry Malick.
Terry Malick gave us the footage, and so tonight he's going to kind of moderate, Pete, what you do, a Q&A for me after a screening. So it's going to be wonderful to have the great Martin Sheen do that.
That's so great. So exciting. Well, for the few of you so far that haven't seen it, go check this out.
Yes, please.
Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all so much.